Hola community, welcome to another episode of Blender.Today Live, this weekly gathering where we see what's new around Blender and in Blender as of today. So, we have a couple of announcements to do today regarding Blender as a whole, Blender the software, but also Blender the community. So, the event of the year, we've been teasing it for a while, this Blender conference that's been taking place since 2002, since Blender became open source. This year is 2022, so it's actually the 20th anniversary of Blender being open source. It's a very special event, and the presentations are what make it special too. So you can present the announcement, the open for submissions so you can present whatever you want. If you use Blender, you use it in your school, in your project, in production. Please go into conference.blender.org, or you can also follow BlenderConf on Twitter or Blender actually, because it has been announced here now live. I'm even gonna retweet it as Blender. There you go. Blender conference is gonna take place here in Amsterdam at the end of October. The talks actually this year is there are even more options, there are even more rooms. The place where it's gonna take place is just amazing. It's just the location, it's just like look at that place. It has like 5-6 floors. It's just crazy. If you go to conference.blender.org, gonna be greeted with this very nice picture. Actually, this is one of the rooms. It's like a party place even. There's even music. There should be music. And actually there are maybe 2 nights when there's gonna be dinners, and as opposed to the previous Blender conferences where there was only one evening with the actual big dinner, it's gonna be 2. So and they're actually included as part of the price, which is gonna be revealed soon. On the website we say late June, and we are in June and we are late, so hey, fits, right? So yeah, go to conference.blender.org, click on submit presentation proposal, and you're gonna see here more. You can just submit your presentation, but if you want to read more, actually you should read more, because the format has changed a little bit, because now there's more rooms. There is actually 8 interleaving floors. Okay, that's a bit much, but an entire building for a Blender conference, up to 700 people. There will be 700 tickets on sale soon. That is insane. It's the biggest conference we ever prepared. So yeah, the theater is like the general talks for everybody, case studies, how Blender is used. Then an entire room, an entire floor is gonna be dedicated to studio presentations, people that use Blender in productions. I don't know, we can have people from Ubisoft maybe there, or like people doing wrist pencil presentations, how they use it in productions. Actually, now that we've been at NSC, we've seen that a lot of people are actually using it in production. Live tutorials, just for learning, just for present, how do you use, what the heck are geometry nodes? What do I do with it? Okay, that too. Then another entire floor just for developers, the hacking space. It's gonna be just a bunch of developers, no feature requests allowed. It's gonna be for people talking to other developers, talking to other developers. So unless you want to bring features to the table, no, I'm kidding. But up to 80 people. Do we have 80 developers? I think we do. And the special interest groups, for example, I am going to prepare one for the Blender Spanish, Blenderoid community, the one that well, anybody that speaks Spanish, basically. The Italians are also big there. The Germans also have usually a meeting, and the French. So this is a nice place to hang out. Also, not here, there are even more rooms. There is one that is the permanent vlogging studio, where there will be a setup like this, but for even more people, for interviews. And it's just not gonna be me doing the live stream, because otherwise I'm gonna miss the entire conference and it can get boring. Is that anybody can be a host. I don't know if we get people from the community. Who is coming from the community? But they could be. And if Gleb is coming, I would love to have him. If Andrew Price is coming, I also would love to have him hosting and interviewing other peoples. And I think would be a good for for a good conversation. The plan is to have this room continuously streaming during the whole 3 days of the conference, and just basically have a place to hang out and talk about the conference and everything else. All right, let's continue. And the market, yeah, if you want to just hang out, hacker cafe. There's just a bit too many rooms. There's a wardrobe for those that come with clothes. I hope most of people. This is everything. Naolito is coming. Hey Naolito, well, I hope you come and be part of the Spanish community. Decoded was also there. So okay, this is it. Go. There is time until August 1st. At latest, you're gonna get a actually it should be more time than that, but you're gonna get either an approval or rejection in August 1st latest. So at least you will know and you have time. The people that are going to give a presentation, they get a discount on their tickets as well. All right, I think I covered that is for the Blender conference. So exciting. You know what else is exciting? When things get fixed, such as 3.2. Yeah, on Wednesday, there will be a new release. 3.2.1 is going to come out with all these bug fixes and maybe a few more. You can find this list. All the links, again, are on the description below, but also you can go to the wiki to release notes to 3.2. And then at the bottom, you're going to find corrected releases and the list of everything that has been fixed. Actually, someone mentioned the other day, I think it wasn't here, but it was on the Spanish live stream, that Eevee Bloom Pass wasn't working. And yep, it wasn't working in 3.2. So if you had that issue or any of the other issues, including a bunch of crash fixes, make sure you update your Blender on Wednesday, 3.2.1. All right, I think I got covered everything around Blender. Let's talk about what's new in Blender itself. And I think I've never been this excited about scroll bars in my life. Okay, let's do something, some prehistory. So remember this boy, this thick boy over here? Well, this is Blender 2.79. For you that don't know, this is what Blender looked like a few years ago in 2018 and half of 2019. So the scroll bars were always been there, and they were a lot thicker back then. In 2.8 they became thinner and also invisible, so they get off the way. So you had a little bit more room, but yeah, the thing is you wouldn't know, like, when they disappear, you wouldn't know exactly how much content you had, or even if you had to scroll at all. And so that has been fixed. A change that has been going on forever. So let me first open the patch itself so we can actually thank Harley, because this patch, so this commit has been done just now, but actually the patch has been around for ages. Actually, picture yourself in New Year's Eve 2019, so 2019 to 2020, at night. Harley was making this patch. There was not even COVID around yet. Actually, there was, but not in most of the world. And this patch was being made. There has been so much back and forth because it didn't work in all cases. There has been a lot of fixes, basically. This is even the old UI, so it was overlapping. And since 3.0, remember there was some margin added to the sides of the panels. So now actually it doesn't overlap anymore. If you open Blender 3.3, you're gonna see that they're actually here, and they get wider as you move the cursor in. So the behavior is the same, but now they're always present. So even if you have your mouse somewhere else, you should see them. They are a bit hard to see at the moment, so maybe some of that has to be fixed in the theme, but it's just a theme change, nothing else. So let's see if I can do a scroll bar, and maybe the item can be a bit, okay, I'm making it here more obvious. And I think it's because it's using the item, but also making it transparent, I think. If I make it full red, yeah. So I think it shouldn't be transparent hard-coded to be transparent, but that's a change that is not part of this commit. It's gonna be fixed because we're still in Beacon 1 until Wednesday. The Beacon 1, remember, is a phase in Blender development that allows developers to just have like a playground basically for adding bigger features and testing those features before they become part of the Blender Beacon 2 release. Actually, some features that I added in Beacon 1, they could even be removed, but hopefully not. This one, let's hope not. So yeah, the scroll bars are here and they are always here, so it's very easy to see when there is a need for them. Actually, here, oh, I found an issue. Okay, not anymore. But yeah, basically they should disappear if they are not needed, and they should always stay there when they are needed. So you get to see a little bit of the size, how much available space you have. Maybe this shortcut a lot of people don't know. Control click on a panel, closes all the other panels and just leaves this one open. When it works, actually, oh wait. Hey, I found a bug. It's actually open all the other ones. Or was it with shift? Oh yeah, because of the sub panels. If it has sub panels, it seems to be an issue. But hey, there's a lot of room for fixing stuff. Okay, let's continue. So Michael says, my Blender 3.2 doesn't show materials bar when I open a project. Then you are like, you have to run to Blender here, go to report a bug and commit it and send the bug report as soon as possible, because maybe there is enough time for developers to fix it like tonight before the release on Wednesday. But you gotta be fast, please. The more you, or maybe just check if it's on the list of fixes. Something with material outliner, no, just the one fix and it's related to the outliner and it's a crash. So please go and report it, because that's the only way that Blender gets better, is that we all report the issues. Okay, and if they get fixed, of course. Let's continue. So scroll bars are here to stay. I couldn't be more excited about scroll bars. All right, let's talk a little bit about the UV editor. Yes, did you know that I'm actually now a developer that is working on that it's full-time working on the UV editor now for a month, I think, for all of I think June. Yeah. So yeah, Chris Blackburn has been preparing a bunch of patches, and the first one made it in this week. This adds select similar, so the Shift G operator that you see in that you have in the 3D view, it's now also available in the UV editor, so you can select similar stuff. Similar. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, maybe let's close the old Blender. Nostalgia is fun. But yeah, same paint, but also to have more options if you have different attributes in those vertices. Okay. Stay tuned though, because Chris is, as I mentioned, Chris is now part of the development fund grants. If you go to fund.blender.org under grants, you're gonna find that Chris has gotten a grant by the Blender Foundation. All right, Barker says Blender changed my life. That's so nice. And somebody asked about my hair. It's growing. That's what's happening. It's just growing. All right, similar to UV, it's part of the same module, UV and Paint. Let's talk about the Voxel Remesh size edit. I love this change. I actually didn't even know I didn't like the behavior before. So if you have used the Voxel Remesh operator, you probably know that it adds like a grid and it lets you choose adjust the size. But what's the problem? It's every time you adjust the size, the starting size is relative to what you had. So in this case, for example, if you went all the way down to 0.001, and then you would be stuck because that's the minimum value, so you couldn't do much. Now it's gonna be by default absolute, so no matter where like this is the patch. So no matter in which value you are, you will always get the same values when you do Shift R and then move left to right. If you want the previous value, the relative value, I think, yeah, it's control. You can use control. It's actually down here. I don't know if you get to see it, but it's in the status bar. You're gonna see that is the shortcut that you need to press. All right, so thank you, Ramil, for fixing this. And I think Ramil has another change this week that is related to tip roundness. This is a bug fix in the brushes. So you probably know, if you do sculpting, the tip roundness setting that allows you to change how round the tip of your brush is. So for example, if the roundness is 0, you get this shape, square. But if you adjust it and you make it fully rounded, now it's a circle. What happens? This is the problem. So the circle was actually bigger than the shape, than the original shape. So when you change the roundness, also was changing the size. And that's not cool because it's not predictable, right? Not anymore. Now actually both fully rounded and square shaped brushes are the same size. Yay for consistency. Okay. Next. Wait. It's not. All right. Animation. Let's talk a little bit about animation. First, this is actually a new panel, but it's exposing something that was already possible. Maybe you didn't know that it was possible because the dope sheet didn't have a custom properties panel visible, but you could have custom properties in actions, right? Just wasn't available, the custom properties panel. So now it is. It's just exposing it. I wonder how many more of this we have that are just overlooked, that the functionality is available via Python but not exposed. What else? Actually, it's a bunch of little fixes like this. This is by Colin. Thank you, Colin. And also thank you for this other. This is a UI improvement. It now tells you. This is basically adding a indication in the tooltip that when you can't edit bone groups is because you are not in pose mode. So it's actually a one-liner, I think. Yeah, it's a one-liner change that tells you that bone groups can only be edited in pose mode. So if you're a developer, you want to get involved in Blender development, and you found this issue, for example, you find that something is grayed out. Actually, this is grayed out. And this one tells me why it's grayed out, because the object has no vertex groups. But sometimes it could, I found one. Shape key, add shape key is grayed out, but Blender doesn't tell me why. I know why, because I use Blender. And I know that is because I'm in object mode. Edit mode. So if I get out of, if I go to object mode, then this is available, then I can press it. But if I'm in edit mode, no. So if you want to get involved in Blender development, maybe that's a good one for you. Just look for the name of this operator, shape key add. It's gonna have a poll function that basically all these polls, what they do is they define if something is possible or not, basically. Then it's a little bit of logic to tell you if it's possible or not. If it's not possible, then it's grayed out. But it can also have this line of code that can tell you a little bit more about it. Of course, you need to know the reason why, right? But it's a good way to get involved into Blender. Of course, you need to compile Blender. You need to go through a few hoops and loops. But it's a good way to get into Blender development. The next feature is also by Colin. It's been on a roll. Add function to remove all left curves from an action. So this is mainly adding it to the RNA, to the command, the function. But it's just to make it easier. So instead of having to remove every F curve until the list is empty, now there is an actual clear command in the RNA that you can use to clear the F curves. Next, let's talk about the clip editor. Am I going too fast? Like I'm asking someone with a 30-second delay on YouTube. Let's move on. Clip editor. Yeah, there is actually a few fixes there. An improvement, not only fixes. Simon Lenz made 2 features this week. One of them adds a mask blending factor for the combined overlay, so you can actually see how much the it's a mystery. So how much the mask overlays on top of the footage in the clip editor. So very much welcome. I don't know if it should be called combined though, because it's not really combined, and we don't use the word combined only on render. So I don't know, maybe it's just being picky. But also the mask display could also become, I think it just becomes overlay, right? Like in the 3D viewport, like this kind of overlays, or like in the image editor we also have overlays. So I think this could just have all the overlays, because also there is another feature that was added this week also by Simon, I believe. It's that there is now an option, a toggle for displaying, for drawing the spline or not. So you can choose the spline, the type, and you can just toggle it on and off with a little tick. So this looks more like overlays to me, such as overlays here, right? That you want to use overlay the grid or the lines, so, or the opacity. We use this. Maybe need to talk with the clip editor team, the VFX team. Okay, another feature in the spreadsheet, actually this is more related to geometry nodes, but it's for the spreadsheet, which is in the future hopefully going to be used for other things than geometry nodes. This allows, this feature by Angel Bueno allows you to do operations also on colors. When filtering colors, you can use like a greater than, less than, so this type of operations in colors. So you can display, you can show me only the colors that whatever, right, that have these values, RGBA. So thanks Angel or Angel for that. I don't know if you speak Spanish, Angel. But let's talk about geometry nodes. There is 2 new nodes in the neighborhood, 2 new. Actually, one of them, it makes me think that this node should have been like the first node ever introduced, because it's the simplest, well, not simple, but it's the very basic one. Add points. A point is the origin of everything, right? A point is everything, and there was no points node in Blender, so now there is one. In this screenshot it's called single point, but I believe it's actually just called points now. In if I add it here, look at this beautiful red scroll bars. Under point, I'm gonna find points. So yeah, you can add how many points. You get a field input for the position, a vector input, and another field input for the radius of the points. Very simple. But you can do crazy stuff with this. No, you don't have to like make a mesh line and then make it only 1 point or work around. Someone is pretty excited, nub, but is pretty exciting, and someone it's eating ramen. No, it's just noodles. Yeah, so very nice to see the excitement around points. So cool. Thank you, Johnny, for working on this. Johnny Matthews, look at that. January 26th. This was on the weekend at 1 AM, Saturday night. What the heck, Johnny? Thank you for your dedication. Next feature is by Hans Goody. He made a new node called Field on Domain. So this is also a building block, so to speak. So basically allows you, he has two settings. One is the field and then the domain, right? Field and domain. So you can capture, but without a geometry input. So you can, it's more reusable. You can capture a field on a specific domain and just use it and pass it around. And actually, the one and only Jack Luke actually made a demo here that is pretty neat. Look. So maybe I can zoom in a bit more. Okay, so this is the example. If you read the tree, first you need to understand how to read the tree. It took me a while, but I think I still don't understand. Okay, so this case, Jack is using a, I don't know if you get to see, so there is like a noise texture plus a value, right? An input value that is using a map range to, you know, clamp it, to map it to a smaller range. And then he's using the field on domain, the float in the face domain, as a factor to mix the position, like the original position, and another position that is actually the position plus the normal on, and using the field on domain of the vectors for that face and mixing it in here with this. So it's using the magic. It's using magic. Now I'm using twice. One of getting the float on that face and the vector on the face. And because somehow Blender Geometry Nodes knows, this is just wizardry. And yeah, okay, then he's using the subdivision face to split the edges and then change the position of those new faces. Yeah, with the value, with the result of this mix. These people are wizards. You guys are lucky to have been born in in the 20s, in the 90s, because if you were born a few hundred years ago, you would probably be burned on a bonfire for wizardry, or chased for being too smart. I mean, reading it is one thing, but coming up with this solution. All right. Something easier to understand when things go faster. Yes, my smooth brain can understand things that go fast or slow. So this is a good commit. Hans made the separate color node in the RGB mode faster, about 50% faster on a test with 10 million values. So that's easier to understand. Thank you, Hans, for working on that. Okay, next. We can talk, I think I'm already reaching the potpourri section. Let's talk a little bit about Python. This change in Python is half a, because it comes from a feature request and a regression actually. So this feature is called expose the event type preview value preview. So there is a bug report that was done by Julian Vlerbach from Ubisoft. He has this amazing, you know, Ubisoft is using Blender in production, right? And they are actually making add-ons to handle their production. So Julian has this awesome add-on. Actually, let's look at it. It's called Shot Manager, and if you look for like Ubisoft Shot Manager Ubisoft on YouTube, you're gonna get this video where Julian explains the use of this add-on. They have, like, they're basically using like cameras as shots, and so you have, if you load your set, you can set each camera to have like your own or your own shot. You give it a color, a number of frames, transitions. You can lock cameras. It's crazy. It's so crazy that they're actually using the dope sheet as like a video sequence editor to see a preview of the scene, of the shots overlapping or not. They even have like a 2D view. It's just crazy. You should check it out. It's actually open source. And the problem, the issue was something about the resizing of the strips. Something was broken. So from that, very nice report, very nicely explained. Took the time to actually report it and explain the problem here. It was a regression. It was something that was used, maybe not in the way it was meant to be used, but it was usable in a way. So a fix was done for that to be a bit more explicit by Campbell time ago. It was an intentional change, but it wasn't mentioned in the release notes. That has been fixed. Now it is mentioned, and it also has been addressed, and it has been exposed properly in the API. So there is in the change log, this has been fixed, and in 3.2.1 the new attribute, let me see if it's here, yeah, it's already exposed. So there is a way to do what Julian was doing properly now, and it's even in 3.2.1. So that's so cool. No sound. What do you mean no sound? I hear myself. Is that okay? Okay, cool. Let's continue. If my sound went out, please let me know. Although you're not gonna listen if I ask you for that. I hope it's fine. Okay, let's move on. Node Wrangler. Yes, a little fix is that if there's no world output in the node tree, it's gonna create one for you. Before, I think it was an issue. It would create a material output instead of a world output. So that is a bug fix, but since the Node Wrangler is so popular, it's worth mentioning it. Another add-on that got improvements this week is the GLTF exporter. 2 fixes, actually a bunch of them, 2 worth mentioning because they're actually features, not only bug fixes. So Julian made this feature to allow exporting the formation bones only without animation. So if you want to export bones, deformation bones that don't have animation, you can now do it. Another feature is that you can give a custom name for the merged animation on your export. All right, next. Actually, this is gonna be for a bunch of people for sure. Wayland on Linux. Okay, who is using Wayland? I mentioned last week that there has been a ton of fixes and improvements around Wayland. There are even more this week. There is actually 2 new worth mentioning. One is support for client-side window decoration. Yeah, your window can be decorated, and also the cursor wrapping. So when you drag the cursor, you perform an operation that gets to the edge of the screen, and the cursor goes back in a loop. That should work now on Wayland. And that's it, actually. There is nothing else new. It's just a bit of a tease. I like to I don't like to tease, I think, but when I read the commit logs, I try to read behind, like in between lines, and this is actually pretty exciting that there has been some cleanups on Blender's texturing code, and it's removing some old Blender internal stuff, but it has been also a lot of other changes, like cleanups in Blender texturing code, which gets me pretty excited. I don't know about you, but it gets me excited. All right, that is and it gets me excited because if you go to the code blog, you might read the news about the projects for 2022, the strategic targets, that some of them include texturing. So that's where my excitement comes from. Okay, we have 15 minutes. Shall we do some Q&A? Let's go to Blender.Today, see if there is oh yeah, there is a thread. Thank you, Sansul, for making the thread. There is 11 questions. Let's try to answer them and go through them. So I'm gonna read them here. Slow Nugget, let's go through the first one. Let's see if Slow Nugget, yeah, you vote seems so I usually start reading those with most votes, but now people have been voting themselves, so I don't know if we should change Blender community so every comment has a vote by default by the creator, or just not allow creator, like post comment authors, to vote themselves. But I mean, if you like your comment, you should be able to vote on it. So maybe all comments should have one vote. Not sure. Let me know what you think. The first question by Slug Nugget says, "Hey Pablo, hola Pavs, actually reposting my question from last week. Yeah, sorry if I didn't. That's okay to do if you if your question didn't get answered last week, the previous week. Please repost. So the question is, what do you think the ultimate implementation of the new Sculpt paint will be? I don't think its current implementation is very intuitive for noobs. I agree with that, and it's not the final implementation. And also, it would be optimal if all attributes work with the multi-res modifier. I think the same. I mean, you can imagine that the developers is not like, I'm not gonna make this work with multi-res. It's not a choice. It's just that multi-res is so complex that every new feature has to be ported and made work into multi-res. So yeah, I mean, it would be great if everything worked with multi-res. So what is the question? Maybe merge vertex paint, weight paint, sculpt paint to a common paint attribute mode. That's kind of the idea though, although sculpt paint, like vertex paint and weight paint, they are both changing attributes, right? One is changing the color, one is changing the values, which is one float number on a vertex instead of 3 color, right? Like a RGBA. So in a sense, it's the same, but it's convenient to have them split, right? If you have, if you're in pose mode, you want to, if you're doing weight painting, you want to access the weights and you want to sample the weights. There are certain tools that you want to be to have more accessible. Whereas vertex paint and texture paint is what should be merged. So there is actually some work done in master at the moment. I don't know if it's behind a experimental flag. Let's check. Experimental sculpt texture paint. I think so, yeah. So if in sculpt mode we go into the paint tool, we should see something. Let's see if it says here. Yeah, canvas. This is new. This is not in master. So in canvas, you can choose if you want to paint a color attribute. So you just create a new attribute, or you want to paint an image. So you can choose. The paint mode is the same, but you can choose if you want to paint a vid map, like an image texture, or on the vertices. So poly paint. This is being worked on, actively worked on. Actually, there were some discussion going on if this should have been implemented for 3.2 or not, like the transition, right, of vertex color and sculpt paint. And we agree that we are in a transition mode, but this should be tackled before 3.3 because 3.3 is LTS. So, and Beacon 2 is on Wednesday. It's work to do. Okay, I don't have a big brain. It's just smooth, just like a little mushroom head, smooth. Okay, next question by Thomas123. What about a complete implementation of ACS in Blender? I know that it's not perfect, but we really need it for movies and series productions. Not being able to work in this is a real obstacle for professionals who have to respect the pipeline in a studio. Hoping it can be integrated into 3.3 to integrate Blender LTS in VFX studios. Yeah, no one is currently working on it. Remember, as far as I know, there has been a lot of improvements in how to export Blender renders with a different color space. Like you can choose a color space, but not the ACS specific color space. Though there are ways to implement, like there are ways to change your Blender to have those, and I think many people in studios are doing it, but not the Blender you get from Blender.org. You have to do some changes yourself. So there are ways, although it's not ideal. Unfortunately, no one is passionate about enough about implementing this, and the people that usually could work on this area, they also have to work on other areas such as texturing in Blender. I think if you ask the community, you're gonna get more people asking, hey, we'd rather improve like texturing in Blender or ACS. Like do you want texture layers or you want... Unfortunately, the resources are limited. You know, you can help by joining the Blender Development Fund. Although this is not magic, right? It's not like you're gonna join and suddenly it happens. It takes time and developers. Luckily, we are seeing a lot of developers from the community joining, and the list of grants is already long enough. Although many of these are just working on either like bug fixing, triaging. This is triaging. The real-time compositor is also coming. There is a lot coming. It's just impossible to tackle it all. And also, you need someone that understands that thing and that actually has the patience, because the moment this happens, you're gonna get a ton of bug reports. And I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of color management discussions myself, but mainly because I don't understand. I worked in studios where that was an issue, but yeah, by using different repos, different OpenColor.io configurations would get fixed. Yeah, it would be cool to have it in Blender. Elias says, hi Pablo, do you know about the work of Michael? Real-time GPU. Yeah, I've seen this, but this is old, right? 10 days. No, this isn't new. Is it alive? Really? Wow, no, I didn't even see this. 3 hours ago. Oh my gosh. Wait, AI scaling. So during the last week, I've been working on neural engine for JFlow, and the first step was to upscale. No, I have no idea. Tell me more. Can we hope to see something like that implemented in Blender in the next few years? Well, I'll ask Michael. Really, I have no idea. Actually, first time I see this. Or is it the same discussion? It's been a while. But when in doubt, always check what the Blender developers are doing, are saying about it, like Brecht. So no. The add-on part is more at the beginning. I'm not familiar with the Blender core. It's just much faster to develop and compile. But later, I will consider total integration. Hey, so Michael will consider. Next, Dino107 says, hey Pablo, when will breps and T-spline modeling be added to modeling, and will Blender add-ons be given higher capabilities to point that add-ons can add new systems to... I'm having a hard time reading, sorry. Point that add-ons can add new systems to Blender, like new unwrapping engine, clay engine, or a new modeling system like T-splines, and it's possible to add... You gotta use punctuation, man. And it's possible to add new systems to Blender using add-ons right now, systems like splines and new unwrapping and... got no words. So when will Blender allow adding systems like that? I think, well, what's stopping it? I'm not familiar with this, what you mentioned, the B-reps, T-splines. Is that NURBS, related to NURBS? New unwrapping algorithms. But there are add-ons that implement their own unwrapping algorithms, and they're so much better than Blender's built-in ones. And physics algorithm, they are like flip fluids, implement their own thing. What's stopping them? Sorry, I had a hard time reading your question. Next one by What's Up 66. Hey Pablo, thanks for the great show. I wonder if there is any plans to add the knife tools to geometry nodes. Knife tool. I've seen a lot of scenarios where it can replace booleans, and it should be much faster to calculate, I believe. Knife tool. But the knife tool uses booleans inside, I believe. But maybe there are different booleans, like not exact. There would be nice if there were an integrator that tells me what the cursor is over to and avoid selecting the wrong object when a lot are overlapping. and there should be a way to toggle between them before selecting. But geometry nodes don't have tools. There is no tool system yet for nodes. The idea is to have eventually too, that you can have like, that you can make tools with nodes. That is far into the future, but not too far, but it is far. Yeah. I don't know. Much faster to calculate, I believe. Then is something about performance, not about the knife tool. Sorry, I also have an issue trying to understand this. What the cursor... An integrator tells me what the cursor is over to. So, oh, interactive. Oh, but that's interactive mode. Right? If you have to detect where the mouse is over and then use that info in geometry nodes. Yep. Yeah, that sounds like interactive mode, which should be coming to your Blender as soon as possible. I hope. I'm missing interactive mode, but you know, everybody's pushing for it. Actually, even Ton is one of the biggest like people pushing for that. Physics is so the next thing in Blender geometry nodes will be having some kind of simulation, and then some physics, which is not the same as simulation, is similar. It's but then on top of that, once you have that, just add a new clock, and then you have interaction. Okay, next question. Let's see, how many questions do we have? Maybe I managed to answer them all. How many times? How many minutes? Yeah. All right. Hi, Pablo, says Glenn. The object mode tools are all basically in edit mode. The object mode tools are all basically in edit mode. So there is a lot of overlapping in the modes. Would it be nice to have the tools all displayed combined so we can just use either mode easily? Or is the object and edit mode separate for a reason? Well, yeah, because often all objects depend, they have different object modes. And also, if you have an object or two objects of different types, what do you do? What do you show? If a few of the object transform options on the right side are just added to the edit mode, we would be able to do everything without having to switch back and forth lots as well. Just an idea. We could keep both modes, but they will just be switched when we select certain tools, and we don't manually need to switch all the time. Polybuild in edit mode looks great, but it would be great if it was also in object. How can polybuild be in object mode? It works on polygons. If we have to keep the modes separate, please make add the same in both modes. Edit mode doesn't have many objects to add. Well, yeah, because you can only add certain objects if you're in a mesh. Right? I mean, there could be like add a curve here, but then internally it would like get out of object mode and then get into, and then add the object and then go into edit mode if you had a curve. Today I'm the questions, I think I'm mixing it up. Maybe it's been a while, maybe it's too hot, too warm. Is the rain in the Netherlands? There's a tornado in the south of the Netherlands. Edit mode doesn't have many objects to add because it only shows the objects for that one mode. If other object types, if you had a camera in edit mode, then it means that you have to get out of object mode, right? And when you get out of object mode, there are things, it's not always fast because there are operations that happen when you are in object and edit mode. In edit mode also there is performance also issues because in edit mode you have access to the entire mesh, where in object mode you can actually do some trickery to only use the objects as objects and not get access to the entire geometry. Yeah, now there are reasons for that to work that way. Next, hey Pablo, will Blender try our CAD? No, it's by Dino. Will Blender try our CAD like Blender try its hand at parametric modeling? And will Blender add new modeling tools for organic and hard surface modeling? And will Blender add a scroll bar to the end panels of Blender users with hundreds of add-ons. All right, I get this one much better. There is a bunch of questions in the one comment. Will Blender try our CAD? I don't understand that one. CAD tool. There are CAD add-ons. There are CAD tools in Blender. Mesh tools, and then there is the precision modeling tools, the PDT tools, and there are other independent add-ons. Will Blender try its hand at parametric modeling? That's geometry nodes. Will Blender add new modeling tools for organic and hard surface modeling? I don't think so, because right now there's really no one working in the modeling, unfortunately, in the modeling module. Also, there is missing like artists coming up with new ideas. I think the add-ons out there already cover a lot of that, and that's not very motivating for artists to ask for specific features, right? When there is all the box cutters and whatever other add-ons they have. I think that it's demotivating for people wanting to add those into Blender themselves. So if you want to, please go ahead and make small patches for the features that you want in. Maybe it can be like pulled, the idea can be pulled from specific add-ons that are already available. There are even add-ons that are in Blender for modeling that are like some features could be part of Blender itself. Will Blender add a scroll bar to the end panel? I hope, I really wish. That is an issue that again is being commented for ages, and I mentioned this in the live stream already a million times, that this thing that Blender, this little thing that Blender tabs get smaller, it's just so bad and unacceptable. But apparently it's very hard to do. Every time you mention to a developer, it's like off. It's like, apparently it's really hard to do, and you need a lot of dedication and patience. If anybody with those qualities are watching, please, if you fix this, just make it a minimum size and middle mouse button to scroll without a scroll bar. Even people already know it. We already have we have the tech. You can scroll here. Can I have this in here, please? That's it. Okay, it's too many questions. I think we are gonna wrap in this last one because it's already 6 o'clock, 6:02 actually. Next question. Time says, hey, what do you think about particle node works like this? Basically like 3ds Max functionment. When people point out like X software, I'm not the best person to ask because I am not familiar with this, but let's look at right click select particle system nodes. This particle system, yeah, this has been actually, this is part of the plan to replace the particle system with nodes. Actually, the first part of it, which is like hair nodes, is already being worked out, and it's experimental in Blender under new hair type, new curves type, and new curve tools. But yeah, geometry nodes for particles is coming. All right, what do you think we call it a day? I feel like I've been talking a lot today. Well, like every other week, although, but I try to go fast on the features because I actually spent some time talking about the conference, which I'm really excited about. I hope to find your submissions soon. Remember, you have all of August until the 1st of all of July until the 1st of August, and you're gonna get a response about your presentation. Make it fun. Look at the Blender conference YouTube videos on this channel. There is a playlist called Blender Conference 2019, the last one, or there is also 2018. You can get motivated by the presentations by Ian Hubert or Captain Disillusion, or you name it. That is all for now. I think we can hang out next week. It's gonna be the 4th of July, so a holiday in some places, but not here. So we're gonna continue talking about what made it into Blender Beacon 2 the time has come to switch to Beacon 2, which means only features related to the big features added in the past month or so. So we're gonna still see some new things, and then that will go on for a month, and then we're gonna get Beacon 3, which means 3.3 beta and 3.4 alpha. Time flies when you have fun. Can't wait for July to come. Let's hang out next week. What do you say? About same time? About same day? Next week? Tune in for another Blender Today live. Watch out your ear holes. Was it loud? Nah, that's okay. That's okay. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again next week, same place, same time for another Blender Today live. Ciao.